I thought this movie was so ugly. It was like kind of unbelievable to me how much I hated the way it looked.
Yeah.
Did you?
I feel like you're kind of doing the podcast before we do the podcast.
It's going to be a short episode. Hello, De Niro Nation, and welcome to Our Hero De Niro, the only podcast watching and recapping every Robert De Niro film in random order. I am Mike, joined as ever by my co-host Mike.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. And today we are going to discuss Luc Besson's 2006 film Arthur and the Minimoys, confusingly retitled both in the table that we pulled to populate the list of movies we're going to watch in this podcast, as well as in the U.S. broad release as Arthur and the Invisibles. We discussed this a little bit in our pre-record. I'm pretty confused about what version of this film we watched, because we did watch it in the U.S., but my understanding from Wikipedia is that the bad U.S. version, entitled Arthur and the Invisibles, is out of print and has been for about 2 years. And so I think the version that we watched was the well-received 2006 original French cut, which is fascinating because I wouldn't have received this film well if I'd seen it in 2006.
Was it well received or just better received than the
No, I think it was well received, man. The critical response line says the film gained positive attention in France and became a box office success.
Yeah, in France. The French are a different breed.
Well, sure. I just mean, like, it was well received by someone. You know, in fairness.
Someone received it well.
Maybe we can just chalk this up to cultural differences, because there's no reason to hide it, right? I mean, I thought this movie was pretty bad. Did you like this movie?
I will say, before I even get to that, I do think we watched the original Minimoys cut, or at least I did, because I watched the version on Prime Video, and it is the same length as what Wikipedia says for Arthur and the Minimoys. So we had the best possible experience watching this movie. Keep that in mind as we discuss it.
Sure. Yeah. So with that context, did you like this movie?
No.
It's amazing to imagine that there was a worse version that we could have seen, isn't it?
From my understanding, from the cursory research that I did after logging this movie on Letterboxd, it seems to be a cult classic, but only for people who were young when the film came out, who have that nostalgic kind of reverence for it. Yeah, it's not actually good.
Yeah. I thought it was like exceptionally bad. And I remember when I was in the first portion, because like the first 20 minutes or so, maybe 25 minutes are live action. And I was writing in my notes and I wrote, isn't this supposed to be an animated movie? And I was kind of hoping that when it switched to the point when it was animated, maybe it would get better, because I hated the way it was filmed in the early live action portion. But it actually gets much worse when it switches to the animated portion. So it's really a 1-2 punch of visual experience.
Yeah, be careful what you wish for. That's the lesson that we've learned.
My feeling that I had in that first 20 minutes was that he was trying so hard to do a Tim Burton film, just like a really, really bad Tim Burton movie was what it felt like to me. And I also felt that this gentleman, Eric Serra, who was doing the score, was trying to do a little bit of like a Danny Elfman kind of thing with the score as well. Like it's got this whimsy to it. Listen, I don't know if you can detect this kind of distinction as well, because I know you don't like Danny Elfman. But there's a good way to do that kind of whimsical score, and there's a bad way to do that kind of whimsical score, and the whimsy in this score is bad. It sounds very cheesy.
Yeah, I agree. For what it's worth, Danny Elfman scores, they're not my usual cup of tea, but I appreciate some of the work that he's done. He's truly one of the greats. It's just
for sure.
a little much for me and my modern sensibilities.
Yes, your modern sensibilities.
Yes.
You're so refined.
You're wearing, fuck you, man. Yeah, I have modern sensibilities compared to you.
We need to find a way to post a picture of what the outfit is I'm wearing, like on the podcast. Something like on in the show notes or something. We should find a way to do that.
Yeah, sadly, we don't have the infrastructure to make a video podcast at this point in time, but Mike is wearing, describe your outfit for the listening audience before we get into it.
Yeah, I'm wearing like, a flannel, gingham, checkered button-down shirt under a like very thick, heavy, like, pretty heavy fabric weight zip-up cardigan. And I yesterday started affixing my glasses to a glasses chain like I'm 85 years old. So I've really got quite the look going here with my modern sensibilities. I like Danny Elfman.
Yeah, I'd call it librarian core.
Yeah, sure. I think that I'm going to do the recap for this movie in 10 minutes. So do you just want to get into it here?
I'd love nothing more.
All right. So the film starts, according to Wikipedia, and I am extensively referencing both the Wikipedia article and the ChatGPT summary I asked it to write for me for this film, because I really zoned out about 2/3 of the way through. I kind of dissociated. Like, the animation got to be a little bit too much for me, and so my memory of the back third of the film is quite hazy. When I was reading the Wikipedia summary this morning, before we started recording, I was like, did that happen? Like, I don't remember any of the stuff that it said happened. So
I'm going to try to bolster you, but I watched this film exactly a week ago. And since then I have watched 8 films. So I don't know how well I'll remember it, but I did take notes. Hey, I will say before we get into it, just to as a little coda from last week's episode, you recommended the famous film Chinatown, and literally,
please talk about that longer than we'll talk about Arthur and the Minimoys.
I'm not going to do that because I'm so excited to talk about Arthur and the Minimoys. But I will say that the next night after we recorded that episode, I went and I watched Chinatown, and everything you said was absolutely true. I'm not saying anything that anyone out there hasn't already heard, but you're right. It lives up to its reputation. It's well deserved. And I loved it. Had an absolute blast from start to finish.
It's pretty cool, isn't it?
Oh, such a cool movie. So definitely, if you guys are into neo-noir at all, go out there and watch China. Watch it instead of Arthur and the Minimoys. That's for damn sure.
Oh,
get some
very
culture.
Much so. I might just recommend it again this week.
just
really emphasize it. Like,
no citizen of De Niro Nation should watch Arthur and the Minimoys until after they've watched Chinatown.
Yeah, God, that's so true. The twist at the end of Chinatown, it feels so much better than the twist at the end of Angel Fart 2. It's just like, I don't know. It's less cheap to me. It's more rooted and materialist in nature, but I already expressed that preference in last week's episode. So, glad you watched it. Really happy you enjoyed it. All right, so here we go. Arthur and the Minimoys.
Hell yeah.
So now the movie starts, and it's got narration. We got this little kid named Arthur, and he lives with his grandma, Mia Farrow. She looks really young to me in this movie, to be Arthur's grandma. Did you feel that way when you were watching it?
No, but she looks good in the, Hollywood Botoxy kind of skin is smoother than you would expect for someone her age kind of look.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like she looks like she's like 50. So I was a little bit confused about like how she would have a 10-year-old grandson. But I mean, I guess it could have timed out that way.
Well, she was 60 when the film came out.
Well, she looked younger than 60 to me. So good for you, Mia Farrow. There you go. So Mia Farrow's his grandma, and he also has a grandpa, a guy named Archibald, but he's recently disappeared. And so to set the scene, right, this is a very brightly colored film. Every shot has like this just sort of like forced whimsy to it. There's a lot of whimsical score work going on in the background. We talked about Danny Elfman a little bit at the top of the pod. The music guy, composer, that's the word. The composer is trying to do a Danny Elfman, and he's not doing a very good job. And I think Luc Besson is trying to do a little bit of a Tim Burton thing, and he's also not doing a very good job. This opening portion of the film is not good. So, we don't need to talk about any of this in too much detail, right? Because it doesn't really matter. So grandpa's disappeared, right? The grandpa was an adventurer of some kind, and he's been like all over the world. A lot of the expeditions that he's done as like an old-timey adventurer were in Africa. But at some point in the live action portion that's setting the stage, Arthur will discover that his grandfather Archibald also went to visit these little people called Minimoys who live in the grass, I think in their yard. So there's a businessman who comes to their house, and he somehow holds the lien on like their house or something. Like the business of the way this is all supposed to transpire is like very muddy and really doesn't matter. The point is like this guy is some kind of business tycoon, and he wants to take over the farm so that he can raise it and build like tenement buildings or something. And he has the leverage to do so. So they're like behind on their bills, their mortgage in some way, and he's about to call in the lien on their house. So he comes, and now Arthur knows, because he knows the house is about to be foreclosed upon, that there are ostensibly rubies buried in the yard. And so Arthur goes off to find these rubies because they are going to help, pay off this businessman so they don't lose the house. And so he goes to look for them, and he's like looking for them one night, and he meets these African gentlemen from some fictitious tribe that his grandfather Archibald was supposed to have formed a really close relationship with. And the leader of this group of African folks helps Arthur to use some kind of like telescope machine that's pointing at the ground so that he can shrink down and join the Minimoys. Oh, there's one other thing I didn't mention. I don't really know how important this is going to be to my recap of the film, but Arthur's parents aren't around, and they're not around because they're, quote unquote, I'm doing air quotes, looking for work. But it's kind of intimated to us, the viewer, relatively clearly over the course of this first live action act that they're just like total pieces of shit. They're just like aren't engaged with him as a child. They don't call him on his birthday or like something, or they only call him on his birthday when they always promise to come see him. Like they just like really blow. And every time they're around, like anytime they're featured in the film, they really seem like they're just like kind of like impulsive, money grubbing, like self-interested losers, essentially. Like they don't seem to care about anybody else in the family. They don't really seem to care about Arthur, and the entire mode of their interest in anything that's going on seems to be like what's in it for them materially, essentially. So I think thematically that's like a part of the movie, right? It's like Arthur's got a bad relationship with his parents. So I don't know if we're going to talk about theme here much because it's really fucking stupid, but like that is a thing. Mike, I can tell you got some stuff you want to add here.
I feel like, first of all, I feel like you're the theme guy. So if anyone's going to discuss that bullshit in this movie, it's you, not me. But there are some things I want to say. I'm not going to. So, yep. Welcome to our shortest episode ever. It will never be beaten.
Yeah, we're a third of the way through the movie. Like we're making great time through this recap here.
Yeah. Well, so there are some things that I want to say here. First of all, yeah, this first act is set entirely in the real world, in live action.
Yep.
And you say it's bad, and it is bad, but I honestly think it was the best part of the movie. So let's be clear about that. It only gets worse, and it's interesting.
5 times better than the rest of the movie. Like the lows are so low.
You're right. There is this forced whimsy to the style of it, but I didn't mind it so much. The way it was shot looked fine. It looked pretty classical. There's a lot of warm lighting. It takes place. I have questions about the setting and the characters here. So for a little more context, I actually did something I don't normally do, and I paused partway through the movie to start reading the Wikipedia page because it felt like the sort of film that's based on a book. And so I looked and I saw, this actually it's based on a book series, Arthur and the Minimoys. And then I saw who wrote it. It was written by Luc Besson. So it's based on books that he basically wrote the books, put them out, and I think released this movie a year or two after the first couple of books came out, something like that, timing wise. And so I thought, this is just like his huge, cross medium vanity project. And you thought of Tim Burton properties. I kind of thought about...
Really quickly, I want to add one piece of context to what you just said. My sense reading it was that he only wrote the books so he could make the movie.
Okay.
Right. Like he wanted to make this movie and had a sense either from talking to development executives or maybe just from his understanding of the industry that like studios were not interested in making this kind of film unless it was based on a book. So like not only is it a vanity project, but it's like the books themselves are like pointless. Like he only wrote them as a justification to make this really stupid movie. It's pretty funny. So go ahead.
It is really funny because you think about that sort of, they're adapting a children's book to be a full-length feature film, and you think, it must be a beloved children's book that stood the test of time, and it's really...
It was written 18 months before the movie came out.
No, it's just written by weird Frenchman Luc Besson. And I have questions here about the setting that he chose for... Listen, we didn't read the book. I assume the setting is the same in the book as it is in the movie because he had full creative control. It's set in Connecticut. So all of the live action stuff, this farm is in Connecticut. And Arthur, he's played by the actor Freddie Highmore, who starred in the show The Good Doctor, which became a meme on Twitter for a while, a year or two ago.
I am a surgeon! I am a surgeon! I am a surgeon!
he's British, and so Arthur has a British accent, but no one else around him has a British accent. And so the parallel that I was kind of drawing, the parallel that I was drawing,
disengaged I was.
That's incredible. The parallel that I was drawing in my mind was to the Harry Potter series, because they both have this, tiny little pathetic British boy protagonist who doesn't live with their parents, and exactly. Right, yeah. And I thought, well, if Luc Besson, he's in Europe, if he wants to take some of that classic, old history British kind of charm and use it in his dumbass film, then why didn't he just set it in the UK? Why is Freddie Highmore's grandma played by Mia Farrow? And I was looking for it throughout the film. Eventually, we get a couple of conversations with Arthur's parents, and his dad has a British accent. And it was really funny because in this first act, they tried to explain Arthur's accent, because I was thinking, it was like, he's just some kid from Connecticut. That's not that far from where we're recording in New York. We don't fucking sound like that. But Arthur mentions in passing that he spent a year at a British boarding school. And then I thought, well, now I fucking hate Arthur, because he's that asshole who like develops an accent as an affectation after going on vacation somewhere. So there were a couple of things that I was just kind of actively thinking about because I was so bored during the first act of this film. But yes, his parents do totally suck. They said that they missed his 10th birthday and had like no excuse for it. And I just thought, what is that?
They're just busy in a phone booth somewhere.
Right. What does that add to the film? I guess they all come together. Yeah. Really,
for the
really.
theme. Like the whole point is like, it's like a metaphor. Like he's growing into himself in spite of like the way he was hamstrung developmentally by his absentee parents and his weirdo fucking grandpa. Like, but it's really weak. It's not good. This is not a good film. Yep. So the one other thing that I neglected to mention is, so the reason why he goes to find the Minimoys is he thinks they can help him find the rubies, but also when this developer, whom I mentioned before, raises the land to build his apartments he wants to build, the Minimoys are all going to be killed. So it's like Arthur is both trying to find the rubies and enlist the Minimoys, let them know what's happening so they can be like participants in their salvation, essentially, because otherwise they're all going to die. So there you go. We're through the first act.
Well, one last thing before we move into the second act. I have to question the intellectual ability of Mia Farrow as the grandma, because the developer is presented as this, the villain of the film, the bad guy, the fat cat, whatever, working for the bank. But I was thinking about it, and I was just thinking, it kind of seems like once the grandpa vanished into thin air, that the grandma never got a job or paid any bills. Like over the course of the film, they're going to lose the house. Their electric gets shut off. Everything gets turned off. And I just thought, she's 60 years old. Doesn't she know how society works? Bills? Yeah, she's not some homesteader who's living off the grid like the fucking Unabomber. She's just living on a farm in fucking Connecticut. So I was kind of on the banker's side, to be honest, until he like really commits a huge heel turn in the climax of the film. But I just thought, I don't know. I'm not trying to be like Mr. Landlord or whatever, but yeah, I think you need to pay for your fucking house. Also, it's this old farm. She's 60 years old. That house isn't paid off yet.
In disrepair.
Right.
Oh, and it's in disrepair.
And it's in disrepair.
Well, I think these people are supposed to be idiots, So like the grandpa Archibald is like an adventurer. That's not a real job.
Right. Why don't you go adventure your way to the factory and start working on the fucking line?
It's like something people did. And obviously there were like, anthropologists and like explorers and people like that who like made it really big, who like managed to like make a living doing it. But it's quite rare, So it's like, I think at a certain point you'd get a job. And so I think these are supposed to be like that kind of person, like who are just like very wedded to not getting a job, essentially, not like living in the real world.
That sort of romantic idealism is fine when you're in your 20s, but when you are 60-year-old grandmother Mia Farrow, I think you got to just
guardian of this child.
Right. I mean, you have a degree in anthropology, but you were responsible, and now you have a job as a Robert De Niro podcaster. So
exactly,
you have a family to provide for.
Bucks.
Exactly.
Yep. Oh God. Okay. So now Arthur shrinks, right? And so this is where it gets really bad. So
yeah, we really need to talk about how bad it becomes. But yeah.
So picture, listeners, the worst CGI you've ever seen. So imagine the way Toy Story looks, and then imagine it's like 70 to 80% as advanced CGI as Toy Story was. I watched A Bug's Life recently, maybe 3 weeks ago. Bug's Life's a great movie. Honestly, that might be my recommendation today for like kind of an ugly CGI movie that's actually good. A Bug's Life came out, I want to say 9 years before this film, like 8 or 9 years before this film, and it looks so much better than this. Like, this film is so ugly. What's that face you're making right now?
No, I was just trying to think about the math on A Bug's Life. When did that come out? 2000?
It was like 1998. Yeah.
Yeah, 98.
It was Pixar's next movie after Toy Story, which came out in 96.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. The year of the N64 and Toy Story.
Oh, hell yeah.
We're just going to stack up things that we remember happened in 1996, so you can keep remembering the year that you were born.
The year that I feel I was born. Listen, I jogged my weekly 5K right before we started recording this.
That's right.
I feel vibrant, just like 50-year-old Mia Farrow.
28-year-old man. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so picture that, right? It looks really bad. And not only is I think quality of the modeling very bad, and the lighting is exceptionally bad, and all of it looks really bad, it's really bad. It also has a weird frame rate, right? It has this kind of fake slight stop motion look to it.
Yeah, I think they're going for a stop motion
stylistic.
Thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but it looks horrendous.
So I think this was briefly the most expensive French film production ever.
I saw that.
So this wasn't a cheap film. I think it cost 60 million euros to produce or something like that.
That's objectively expensive, right? Even in today for a film like this.
So the problem is the art direction. The Minimoys, I'm looking at the poster right now, and the Minimoys, they look like troll dolls, but with pointier features, pointy elf ears, and weird misshapen faces, and this very pointy like doll hair. They're very bizarre looking. They don't look cute. They have small beady eyes, which is I think not what you want in animation. I think you want bigger, more expressive eyes.
Yep.
And so the entire time,
to humanize them, right? Because they aren't human.
Right.
So as people, we're looking for something to relate to.
Right. The first time we see a Minimoy, I literally wrote in my notes, if I saw one in real life, I'd scream and kick it.
Yeah, it's a good choice. Yeah, here's what I wrote exactly. So I had a similar experience. Man, Arthur falls down into the telescope and the special effects look so bad. Oh my God, Arthur looks fucking stupid too.
Well, that's the thing. Because when he shrinks, he doesn't just shrink and is a smaller version of himself. He's transformed into a Minimoy. And he looks at
the ugliest one of all.
Right. He looks at himself in the reflection of some piece of glass like it's super exciting and cool. But I think in real life, if this happened to you, it'd be a body horror situation. I think you would be screaming in terror.
Oh, yeah.
It's really funny. But it's presented as whimsical and exciting. So
So I think here's the point where it's important to mention who's in this movie, right? Because I mentioned just kind of drawing your attention to imagining the visuals. I would also like you, though, listeners, to imagine some of the worst performances you've ever heard, as far as voice work goes. So here are some people who are in this movie, okay? And I'm gonna leave the most notable for last. So Snoop Dogg is in this movie. Robert De Niro is in this movie. David Bowie is in this movie, but most notably, well, wait, who plays the little brother? He's somebody famous too, isn't he? But I'm not seeing it. There we go, Jimmy Fallon as the way. Oh, but Jimmy Fallon was apparently only in the Weinstein Company version, so we did not see the Jimmy Fallon version. So some guy named Douglas Rance. That doesn't matter. Whatever. Who cares? But most prominently, Madonna is in this movie, and oh my God, her performance is unbelievable. It might be the worst performance we see in any film by any actor for this entire podcast. This is one of the worst voice performances I have ever heard in a film. She is like completely phoning it in, and you occasionally get the sense during De Niro's lines that he didn't really read the story of the movie and like wasn't really given the context when he was doing his line reads for like what was happening, because there'll be some like tonal or emotional inconsistencies between lines that are ostensibly part of the same conversation. Like it all just sounds a little bit off. But like Madonna is the most egregious in this way. Like half of her lines are just like they're said kind of sleepily, or like oh my gosh, it is like unbelievable. I cannot believe how bad her performance is. Did you notice Madonna's performance in this film?
I think it's the worst case scenario when you cast, well, she's not even a regular actor. She's not an actor.
That's the thing, right?
It's like the real worst case scenario of casting a non-actor in a voice acting role. You know, a lot of people
just has a normal voice, right?
Right. Like when Studio Ghibli films are re-recorded in English and presented by Disney or whatever, sometimes people complain about what they perceive as stunt casting because they're just bringing in A-list actors to do the voice acting. And those people argue that they're different sets of skills, and someone who's good at acting might not necessarily work very well as a voice actor. I never really have a problem with that. I think I tend to like those naturalistic sort of voice performances that come from regular actors. But this was egregious because Madonna isn't an actor. So, and she doesn't sing in the movie either. So why is she there?
No. Yeah. I hear that feedback about the Studio Ghibli films. I find it so incredibly stupid. Like, I think I understand the point, but it feels navel-gazy to me. It's like, you know, my favorite Studio Ghibli film is Ponyo. And yeah, I know that Liam Neeson isn't a voice actor, but you know, I think he does a pretty bang up job in that movie. You know, like he's a good actor. He's got a nice voice, and I think it's fun that you get to hear Liam Neeson's voice play that character. I think that's really nice. But yeah, Madonna, like, she can't act. You know, so how's that going to translate to voice acting? Right, and the answer is not or the question is not really hypothetical, right? It's a real question. The question was asked and answered in the 2006 film Arthur and the Minimoys, and the answer to the question is not well. It will not go well. So yeah, here we are. So let's see. This is the point where it starts to get a little hazy for me, but I think I still remember the next third relatively well.
Yeah,
so
we're half an hour into the film. It gets hazy for you at this point.
Yep. So Arthur lands there, and the person who lets him in to the Minimoys land is this guy, Prince Simono Matradoi de Beta Mesh, or they call him just Beta, which is probably supposed to be a joke, I guess, because he's very passive. He's not the leader of his siblings.
He's like the comic relief.
Right. Yeah. He's like the comic relief character. He isn't funny at all.
Like that is that is the type of character he's aspiring to be, but he's never funny.
Yeah. Yep. So he plays the younger child of the king, who is played by Robert De Niro, or the emperor, I guess, Sifrat. And so Arthur gets hooked up with this little beta boy, and they go back to, I don't know. I don't even know what's going on. Like, there was some sort of ceremony happening. Like, I think that Madonna's character, Princess Selenia, she's like trying to pull the sword from the stone. This is like a joke because Arthur's name is Arthur. And so they go there, and it's Princess Selenia's birthday. She's 1,000 years old, I think, right? 100 years old, 1,000 years old.
She's about to be 1,000 years old.
She's about to be 1,000, right? So she's about to have her 1,000th birthday. It's like the day after tomorrow or something. And so she's going to take over the kingdom from Robert De Niro, her daddy, Emperor Sifrat. And she needs to be able to pull the sword from the stone to be able to do that, but she can't do it. And so, Mike, here we get our first Robert De Niro sighting, in air quotes. Did you note the timestamp when this happened?
Yeah, I put face reveal in in quotation marks in my notes too. I have it down at 31 minutes and 16 seconds. This is a classic.
Incredible.
De Niro is not in the movie much movie. So, but you know what? I kind of liked his performance though, because it was so expressive. It seemed like he was having a very fun time with the 10 lines that he had.
Yeah, he did probably have at least 12.
You know what?
Yep.
I just had a fucking revelation. I was just looking in my notes underneath that face reveal, and it hit me. I have the perfect way to describe the CGI from this film. It's not going to work for our younger listeners, but I think those of a certain vintage will know what I'm talking about. The CGI, it looks like the artwork on a graphics card box from the 90s.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
That is exactly what it looks like. Oh, man. Okay, so hopefully that helps at least one listener out there. Sorry, please continue with this god-awful movie.
Sure, because I have so much to say. So somehow it ends up with Arthur trying to pull the sword from the stone, and he's able to do it. And when he does, I don't remember the exact order in which these things took place, but after he does, some people come to attack. And these people work for this guy whom they call the Evil M. His full name is Maltazard, and he's going to be voiced by David Bowie. We're not going to meet him for like 15 or 20 minutes. And so they come and attack these like bugs who work for the Evil M, and somehow Arthur ends up like he's piloting some kind of craft of some kind, isn't he? Or is he just firing a cannon? I can't really remember what was happening in this scene. But somehow Arthur fights off the attackers in some manner. Like he single-handedly defeats this like army of evil insects who are attacking the Minimoys. Do you remember like the mechanics of this scene? Doesn't matter.
No, I just wrote there was a confrontation with gross bugmen.
Yep. Doesn't matter at all. So the Emperor, Robert De Niro, after they stave off the attack, sends the siblings, Beta and Selenia, off with Arthur to go find the Evil M. He lives in some city, I think, called Necropolis, dumbest name imaginable. And so they go off on like a quest.
Hey, how come no one's moving into our new city? You think it has anything to do with a name?
Yeah, I think somebody's got to get like the Chamber of Commerce involved here. Like they need some kind of brand campaign. Yeah. I don't think I'm moving there, honestly. Like I don't care how good you tell me the job opportunities are, or like how cheap the housing is. Like city's called Necropolis. It just doesn't feel right to me. Okay, so now they start to trek toward Necropolis, right? So there's a scene here where we kind of establish that Arthur and Selenia have a little bit of like a budding romance thing going on here. And Selenia has to get married by the time she turns 1,000, which is in 2 days, so that she can take over emperorship of the they call it a kingdom, but probably really an empire. And so they meet Snoop Dogg. So they go to this.
Yeah, we can't gloss over this scene.
Yeah,
I think it's weird to everyone, man. Only the twisted mind of Luc Besson thinks it's not weird.
They go to this like nightclub, and so like Snoop Dogg's there, and he plays this guy named Max. Snoop Dogg was probably my favorite thing about this movie, honestly. I really just enjoyed getting to hear him do this performance. It's like nothing about the movie's good, but like I really like Snoop Dogg, so it was nice to hear him.
Much like Madonna, he's a singer or a rapper who cannot act, but it is just fun hearing him do a Snoop Dogg thing. It is crazy, though, because the setup for this, before they meet Snoop Dogg, they meet a Minimoy voiced by Anthony Anderson. And this Minimoy has dreads. And my mind started wandering, thinking about like the racial dynamics of the Minimoys and how does that work? It's like, I don't know. Like if you're one of the French animators tasked with conceptualizing and designing the Minimoys that are voiced by black people, do you feel racist when you're trying to come up with those character designs? Or do you not because you're French? You just like,
I'm not sure.
Affect you. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a shame that I don't care, because it is an interesting question, but I don't care enough about this movie to wonder. I hope someday in our lives we encounter art more deserving of making us ask these kinds of big questions about the ways different cultures think about race. I don't want Arthur and the Minimoys to make us ask any big questions here in this podcast.
That's why people come to this podcast, man, so we can ask and not answer the big questions.
Yeah. Hey, listeners, write in if you know anything about the different ways that artists in France think about race versus the ways that artists in the U.S. think about race. Share some of your insights with us, please. We can answer this question in a future episode. So, what else happens in this scene with Snoop Dogg? Okay, so we didn't really talk about it. So it's like a weird nightclub scene, and it's like a fever dream. Like Snoop Dogg has this like weird smoky drink that he gives them that like doesn't seem like it's just alcohol.
Yeah, he blows smoke in Arthur's face.
Right. They like blows smoke in Arthur's face. So it seems like maybe it's supposed to be like some other kind of drug as well. And then there's like this roller skating scene, right? And it seems like everybody's like kind of high, like while this is happening. And it's like, kind of up until this point, this is a relatively sort of child oriented movie, it seems like. And then this scene happens, and like, I think you could fob it off maybe as being like one of those scenes that's for adults in a film that is meant for children. But I think there's a lot of stuff in this scene that a child might find confusing, that would create more questions, that would be uncomfortable enough for parents to answer, such that it outweighs the value of having like adult oriented humor in the film. Like, it's like you'd just rather that it wasn't there if you were a confused parent taking your child to see this film. This too could be chalked up maybe to cultural differences. There's a degree to which I think we have some puritanical attitudes about these kinds of things in the U.S. that maybe are not so ubiquitous in parts of Western Europe. But what do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I think maybe in France, 10-year-old British boys can openly walk into smoky drug dens. No, it's interesting because this, I completely agree with you. And it's interesting because this scene, I think, is simultaneously both the high and low point of the CGI portion of the movie. I say the high point because it's just so damn weird, like genuinely weird, that the entire production team came together, rallied around this bizarre vision, and brought it to
like
life.
8-minute thing.
Yeah. This extended dance fight sequence, whatever the hell's going on. We also get a little more back and forth between Arthur, the 10-year-old boy, and Madonna, the princess, who is literally 100 times his age. Thank God there isn't more to that romance than what we already get in this dumb film. I just couldn't get over it. I think that's so weird. And it made me think, I'm not really an anime guy generally. Actually, Studio Ghibli films notwithstanding, I do have to watch Ponyo. That's on my list. But I feel like that's kind of a common anime trope where weebs, they will like really lust after whatever youthful looking
ladies.
Well, like, yeah, youthful looking anime ladies, but they say it's okay that they look underage because the character is 1,000-year-old Gorga demon or whatever the hell, whatever.
Big like Tenchi Muyo energy, right? Like,
exactly. Yes, there we go.
Yep.
There's the yes. Thank you for making a reference that I actually knew.
What was her name? The lady
I do not
Ryoko
remember.
In Tenchi Muyo. There's a buried memory right there. There's a show I haven't watched probably since I was 12 years old. It was Ryoko, I think, was her name.
Yeah.
The like 1,000-year-old lady who has the body of like a beautiful like 18-year-old woman.
Right. And now it's interesting to see that trope again as a much older person who's not actively consuming anime in that way.
Yeah.
He's not a weeb. Yeah.
No offense to weebs. We want your listenership to this podcast. You should keep listening.
Listen. We like what we like. It's all fine. But in this film, I was just struck by like one, Madonna's character. All the Minimoys are so ugly that it strained credulity that Arthur would fall for any of them. And two, I was just so off put by that gigantic age gap. What was with the decision to make the Minimoys that old? It didn't serve any purpose. It's not like that they were particularly wise or anything. And the fact that she's building this romantic connection with a 10-year-old boy was so freaking weird to me.
Yeah. So they leave. And so this is the point where I'm going to start really heavily relying on the ChatGPT summary that I asked for, because I blacked out for the final portion of this movie. The last thing I really have a clear memory of is Selenia talking to Maltazard in his lair, and it's David Bowie, and like that's kind of fun because David Bowie is not an actor, right? But he can act. He acted in things. Like, the guy's got gravitas, so like, he's good in this film. But I mean, he was just like one of the coolest people who ever lived, and he's good in just about everything he ever does. So you want to help me a little bit here with this with this back portion of the recap here. So they get to Necropolis, and they discover that there are all of these rebel Minimoys who are imprisoned by Maltazard, but also Archibald, Arthur's missing grandfather, is a Minimoy now and is also imprisoned with these rebels. So they find his grandfather and they rescue him, but he's very weakened. He's not doing very well. Am I doing a good job here so far?
Yeah, you're hitting the beats.
All right, great. ChatGPT tells me that this is also the point where Selenia and Arthur first,
I just
do
want to say
something that sort of
for
signifies
context,
their love. Sure, go ahead.
that my dear co-host Mike the Fab over here just started using ChatGPT like 3 days ago. So
I'm learning a lot. I'm listening.
This is really something else. Just leaning on it in your
But,
review of this very simple children's film.
I had to ask it like 3 times for
What is
revised
a movie?
versions of this summary because it kept giving me like a bad one. Like I was like, listen, you don't understand. You need to give me more detail. I really don't remember what happened. Like it gave me a couple summaries that like were not nearly enough. Were not nearly enough detail. Let's see. I'm just trying to tease out like what was really important here. So they kiss, Selenia and Arthur, and apparently in Minimoy culture, this means they're married now. I guess you just kiss, and that's how marriage happens. Pretty interesting. And so now Arthur and Selenia are married, and so he's like a member of the Minimoy like royal family now, essentially. So he has some additional powers conferred on him by his royalty by marriage, and they confront Maltazard, and they have a sword fight, and eventually Selenia and Arthur escape, and they have Archibald with them. Beta had already escaped by way of like making a diversion for all the other rebel prisoners to escape, and they get out of there, but Maltazard survives, and the point of his survival was to tease sequels. Which did happen, by the way, in case you're not aware. And it's pretty exciting that Robert De Niro's not in any of them, because I'm very relieved that we don't have to watch 2 sequels to this film for this podcast. So they get back to normal size, right? Arthur and his grandfather, and they get the rubies. And then the thing happens that you referenced, right? This part I actually do remember. So I unblacked out here. Like, I think that once they were back in the real world, I was able to kind of recover from the damage the stupidity of the CGI portion was doing to my brain. And so I remember this part of the movie.
Is that how you are with every animated film? Is that why you cried at Pixar's Soul? Because your brain was just like totally turned off and you thought maybe this is... No? Oh, interesting. Okay.
No. Huh. I love Pixar's Soul. So they try to make this deal with the developer. What's funny is ChatGPT didn't put this in their summary. Like, it does not mention this at all. They try to make a deal with the developer with the rubies, but the developer tries to steal them without like giving them back the lien on their house, essentially, and like saving them from this pending foreclosure. And so this is where we find out like that the developer is just a really bad guy. How do they stop him from doing that though? I don't remember.
The Africans are standing behind him and knock him out.
That's right. And they like, okay. So that all happens. Yep.
You know, I have to pause and I have to question this banker's logic because, again, for the rest of this film, I'm like on board with the banker. Yeah, you know, the grandparents entered an agreement and they should be paying for this house that they bought. But then he tries to steal rubies and pulls out a gun and is threatening to kill people. And I'm just thinking, like, aren't you like a mid-career professional at a bank? What are you doing? Like waving a gun around, threatening to kill people? What's the end game here? I guess just fly away with the rubies or something. When did this film take place? Did it take place in the 50s?
In the 60s, I think.
60s, okay.
The 60s, yeah.
60s, gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess you could probably just hop on a plane and fuck off to wherever. You know, maybe Europe, maybe France. You know, they have some real twisted minds over there.
Beautiful country out there.
Oh, yeah.
So that conflict is resolved at this point, right? And in acknowledgement of the fact that Arthur is now away from Selenia, right? Because he's back in the human world and she's still in the Minimoy world, but they are married. He goes into the garden and like does this sweet little whisper thing. And he says that he'll come back to her once again, kind of teasing the sequels, right? And the movie ends. And there you go. That's Arthur and the Minimoys.
Well, you know, at the very end of the film, when he's looking at it into the garden, the princess says that she'll wait for Arthur. And the last thing I wrote was, what? With a question mark and an exclamation mark. I mean, that adventure must have irrevocably fucked up his, you know, psychosexual development, right? He's going to lust after some tiny thimble-sized, like alien-looking dwarf.
Thought about this way harder than I did. I love this. I was so checked out.
What
I could never have had a thought like
just
this while I was watching this.
Think about when you were 10 years old and you were just like on the cusp of adolescence, and your life as a horny adolescent boy and whatever, there's just so much to work through during that phase of development. Now imagine that you have some hyperfixation on this tiny little Minimoy 1,000-year-old princess that no one else believe exists. I feel like in the sequels, I haven't watched them, I don't know anything about them, but the next film should be Arthur being committed to an insane asylum. And maybe it would bring the family together. The parents would be like, we need to come home and be there for our son.
Get this kid into therapy.
I don't know, but that's how the movie ends, on a wistful note.
There you go. So what'd you think of Arthur and the Minimoys, Mike?
Yeah, it's kind of tough, honestly, because it's not a question of, is this a bad film? It's a question of, how bad is this film? So for my final rating, which is what we're doing here, I'm going to give Arthur and the Minimoys a 1.5 out of 5. I didn't really find it egregiously bad, except for the art style. It was just so visually ugly. I think that if it wasn't for the art style and the very questionable romance between the lead and a 1,000-year-old freak dwarf, that, maybe I'd give it a soft 2, and maybe I could kind of see why it has this nostalgic reverence attached to it for a small group of viewers. But it's just so unpleasant to look at for 2/3 of the film. Yeah. And I just couldn't get past it. Especially the Minimoys Kingdom, it's underground. And I just thought like, oh, not only is the CGI ugly, but we're just in brown dirt caves. And so I was pretty thankful when they moved out into the yard, but it wasn't enough to save the film. It was a pretty rote story, all things considered, pretty derivative. And the performances weren't really great. Honestly, Mia Farrow I thought was pretty good as the grandma, so I want to give her a shout out.
She's funny. Yep.
There's a running there's a running subplot which is played for laughs, but I think would actually be really horrifying, where after Arthur shrinks and becomes a Minimoy, he disappears without a trace, and the grandma is just losing her shit because she can't find her grandson. And wouldn't that be like the most terrifying thing that could happen to you as the guardian of a small child? But she's nice. Every time we cut back to her, it was like a breath of fresh air being in the real world and not in that disgusting Minimoys Kingdom. But didn't enjoy it. Not going to be a cult classic for me, and I give it a 1.5. What about you, Mike? What do you think of Arthur and the Minimoys? What would you give it out of 5?
Yeah, so just as an aside, the thing you just shared about the grandma's kind of arc, right, or comedic arc, makes me think about that conversation we had with Nora last night. Mike came over to our house yesterday, and we hung out for the day. And Nora, my daughter, worried that if we lost her, maybe we wouldn't try to find her. And I was like, oh no, babe, if we lose you, like, we'll try to find you forever. Like it'll consume our lives, and like she doesn't really understand what that means. Like what I was saying is like, like when parents like lose a child, like until the child is found, right, living or dead, like it's like that's the only thing you're going to think about. Like no parent could ever lose a child and like just be like, oh, well, it's been a couple years. We haven't found him. So I guess they're probably dead. All right. Like you want that confirmation, right? Like to know. And like that's what the grandma's going through, but it really isn't funny. Like it's actually like quite dark if you're this child over whom you have guardianship has disappeared. Like that isn't really a comedic topic.
Listen, I want to watch a light film that'll be fun for the whole family, and in that film, I want a young boy to be groomed by a 1,000-year-old dwarf, and I also want a grandma to be horrified at the sudden loss of her grandchild. Okay. That's what I want in my fun entertainment. Yeah.
Very funny stuff. No, I hate this movie. I think I have to go with 1.5 stars for a couple reasons. So reason one is, reminder for our loyal listeners, 1 star is actually my lowest rating. I will never give 0.5 stars to another film after Star Wars. What's that movie called?
The Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker, after Star Wars Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker, which, by the way, we haven't talked about recently in the podcast, and I watched it again about a month and a half ago, and it really is like just as bad as I remembered. I'm right to have that as my sole 0.5 star.
I'm never going to rewatch it.
The other reason is I went and looked at the other films that I've given 1 star in this podcast, which are Killing Season and Savage Salvation. I don't think this film is as bad as Killing Season or Savage Salvation. That's not fair to it, but it's not good. And so for that reason, I give it 1.5 stars. And there you go. That's Arthur and the Minimoys. Mike, did watching this film encourage you to make any recommendations? I have a lot, actually, that I want to give, but I landed on just one that I think is pretty funny, and I'm excited to share it. Go ahead. What's your recommendation this week?
Well, shortly before watching Arthur and the Minimoys, a couple of days before, I was doing some work around my apartment, and so for some, what's the word I'm looking for, light entertainment, I threw on Sonic the Hedgehog 3. It's not my recommendation. But
oh my God, that's why I laughed. I was just thinking how funny that would be if it was your recommendation.
Just follow me, okay? Come with me on this journey. So I am a Sonic the Hedgehog fan. Not a big fan, but I am a fan of the franchise. When I grew up, we never had, we didn't have a Nintendo system until the N64. So when I grew up, I had a Sega Genesis, Sega Saturn, and then a Sega Dreamcast. So I had Sonic games. I do like the franchise a lot, even though I haven't stuck with it really as an adult. And apparently there's a legion of Sonic super fans who are real interesting characters. If you ever want to do something fun, here's what you do. Go on Google and just search for your first name plus the Hedgehog. And you're going to see some crazy stuff. But last December, I was assembling a new standing desk that I bought for myself, and I decided to watch the first couple of Sonic the Hedgehog films on Paramount Plus. And you know what? They're fine. They're actually better than I thought they would be. It's not the direction that I would choose to go in if I was creating films based on that franchise, because the first one is like a live action road trip comedy with Sonic and James Marsden. But they're fine. Jim Carrey's actually really great in them as Dr. Robotnik, and I think there actually is a lot to like about them. So my recommendation is not any of those films. My recommendation is the Knuckles straight-to-streaming TV show that came out in between.
I'm so happy we went in such similar directions with this.
It came out in between Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And
I've seen a couple episodes of that show.
Oh, yeah? Oh, you got listen, it's only 6 episodes, only 6 half-hour long episodes on Paramount Plus. You got to watch the whole thing. You've been done with it in a few hours. It follows Knuckles the Echidna, who's voiced by Idris Elba. And it's also a road trip comedy, but it's with him and a human, Wade Whipple, played by Adam Pally. And I was surprised by how much I liked it. It's really offbeat. It has this really lo-fi sort of charm. It's not focused on big action set pieces or anything like that. Knuckles is training Wade to find his inner warrior and succeed at a bowling tournament in Reno, Nevada. I'm pretty sure that is like the overarching plot.
You seek to compete in the upcoming Tournament of Champions in Reno, Nevada. I will take you there. This tournament is my destiny.
And the dynamic between them works so well because Knuckles is the straight man, even though he's the anthropomorphic CGI echidna, and Wade Whipple is just like a really goofy, like doofus kind of character. And so I actually really loved getting 6 episodes with these guys. Like one episode is focused on meeting Wade's family, his like mom and sister, and Knuckles just learns a lot about the Jewish faith, which is such a weird thing to put in a 6-episode Knuckles TV show. Another episode is like a 20-minute long lo-fi rock opera, just describing like Knuckles' people's backstory. So there's a lot to love about this series. I think it kind of punches above its weight, and it might be my favorite thing from that entire franchise. So skip Arthur and the Minimoys, watch the Knuckles TV series. You won't regret it, I hope.
I think it's funny to imagine, the JDL funding the Knuckles TV show, and they just gave so much money to these folks to make this, but their only kind of criterion on which their funding was contingent was to make sure that it's got some education on the Jewish faith in it. Because I agree, it is very interesting as like a component of that series. It feels a little at odds with I would say like Sonic the Hedgehog as a property, like that like earnest engagement with something like very of the real world, like I don't think you imagine, I don't know, I guess maybe some people do, but like, when I played Sonic the Hedgehog as a kid and watched the Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon, I never imagined them having like a Western style organized religion. I know. Maybe they do,
It's part of the charm.
It's interesting. Yep. So it's so funny that you went in the direction that you did with this, because I went in a very similar direction, but a little bit divergently and for a totally different reason. So as I was watching this, I knew that it had become a cult classic among people who watched it when they were children. And so I wanted to pay homage to that by recommending something that I really liked when I was a child, that I don't think is very good, but I really like it because I feel nostalgic for it, and I think that when I say the words that I'm gonna say, I think you're gonna really enjoy it. So for my recommendation this week, I would like to recommend the 1994 ABC television show Bump in the Night. Mike, you ever watch this show?
No, what?
Right, so,
What?
So I'm gonna read the first couple paragraphs of the Wikipedia article. Okay. Bump in the Night is an American stop-motion animated series by Danger Productions and Greengrass Production. The show was filmed using stop-motion animation and aired on ABC from 1994 to 1995. Here's the synopsis. Mr. Bumpy is a small, green, purple-warded monster living under the bed of a 10-year-old boy, where he eats dirty socks and dust bunnies as if they were delicacies. His best friends are Squishington, a blue monster that lived in the bathroom's toilet cistern, and Molly Coddle, a Frankenstein's monster-like rag doll belonging to the boy's sister, who acts as the straight man to the other's crazy antics. So here's some things about this that I'll say that it does that are similar to, I think, what Arthur and the Minimoys is trying to do, but ultimately it's more successful at doing them. One, it does stop motion, right? And when you watch this series, you have to really engage with how fucking insane stop motion is as like an art form. Like,
yeah,
this show is 26 30-minute long episodes composed of 24 frame a second stop motion photographs. Like, that's like insane that they did that. You know, I mean, every episode must have taken hundreds of hours to stage and film. The stop motion is exceptional in the way that I think, like, right, there's a way that the ease of modern production of like relatively commodified content, of which this is, right? Like, this is like a stupid children's show from the mid 90s, but like, because it has become so easy and people's tastes have become so undiscerning, you don't really see things in this kind of like relatively low importance children's media that is actually impressive. But I went back about a year and a half ago and I watched a couple episodes of Bump in the Night. So just so you all know, they're all on YouTube. So if anybody's interested in actually watching this show, you can just go watch a 12-minute episode on YouTube. And it's like, it's kind of incredible artistically, like how good it is, in spite of the fact that it was just like kind of a stupid children's show that was aired on Saturday morning cartoons in the mid 90s. So it does stop motion. It does it really super well. It is a visually beautiful show. And it is about a small world, right? So it's doing kind of the same thing that Arthur and the Minimoys is doing, where it's like these small creatures' versions of a child's bedroom. And it's just like, it's really cool. It's a really cool show that I watched when I was a kid. And I feel nostalgic for Bump in the Night. And I think it is objectively 500 billion times better than Arthur and the Minimoys. So you could check that out. And that's my recommendation for this week.
It's fucking crazy. I'd never heard of this show. Obviously, I was the right age to watch it when it came out, but I'm going to have to check a segment or two out on the old YouTube.
It's cute. It's fun. I think if you watch a couple, you'll have a nice time. It's pretty funny. Jim Cummings is in it. He plays Mr. Bumpy, the main character. For those who don't know, Jim Cummings was the kind of iteration of Pooh's voice actor, Winnie the Pooh's voice actor, when Mike and I were growing up. Obviously, the original and GOAT Pooh is Sterling Holloway from the original films from the 60s and 70s. But Jim Cummings was really excellent as Pooh in the 80s and 90s. He also voiced Tigger. He's an incredible, just like one of the greatest voice actors of all time, probably. And he does a really nice job in this film, or in this show as well. And it's really nice. I think if you sit down and watch an episode or two, you'll enjoy it. It'll take you a lot less time than it would take you to watch this movie, and you'll have a lot more fun. So there you go.
I think those are great recommendations this week. Really, really going off the reservation.
I'm so happy with how weird they both were. When you said that it was the Knuckles show, I was so thrilled knowing what mine was going to be. It's just so funny that we both recommended, like, not very good children's cartoons.
Pretty charming, though. They both sound pretty charming.
Yep.
This film wanted to be charming. So
yeah, it failed spectacularly. All right, Mike, thanks for a great discussion on Arthur and the Invisibles. Let's find out what kind of beautiful turd we're going to watch next week.
All right, I'm ready to roll. And as always, I'm hoping for Silver Linings Playbook. Are you ready? I'm
ready. Silver Linings Playbook. Let's go.
All right, I'm rolling now. I got 49. The 1997 film Wag the Dog, directed by Barry Levinson, director of The Alto Nights.
And Sleepers. This is a Barry Levinson podcast now.
No kidding. Wow. 3 in pretty close succession. I've never heard of this film before in my life. This is a 1997 American black comedy political satire film, that's a lot of words, starring Dustin Hoffman and Robert De Niro. Dustin Hoffman, also from Sleepers. We got a whole gang that we're putting together.
Yep.
That's exciting. This was a moderate hit at the box office, brought in $64 million on a $15 million budget, but I don't know anything else about it beyond that. I'm looking forward to watching it.
Well, it's a David Mamet screenplay, right? And we watched The Untouchables, which he wrote.
Love David Mamet.
Second David Mamet episode as well.
Sounds great. Why don't you close us out?
So there we go. That was Arthur and the Minimoys. So as ever, I'd like to thank you, our loyal listeners and citizens of De Niro Nation. Thank you for coming back to this beautiful country of ours, week in and week out. And I would like to thank you, my co-host Mike, for being here with me today, as I tried and failed to effectively recap Arthur and the Minimoys.
I feel a little less guilty about my Angel Heart recap now, just so you know.
Yeah, I think I probably paid about as much attention to this as you did to Angel Heart. And I would also like to thank my wife, Caroline, our erstwhile guest host, and the creator of the art for this wonderful podcast. And I would like to invite you, loyal citizens of De Niro Nation, to follow Mike and I on Letterboxd. His username is Mike Back At You, and mine is Mike the Fab. Please rate us 5 stars only on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and write us a letter about literally anything, to reiterate our prompt from last week.
Send them in.
Doesn't have to be live show rules. Doesn't even have to be about Robert De Niro or movies or this podcast. Write us a letter about anything. The email address is ourherodeniro@gmail.com. Thanks for being here with us today, and we are looking forward to talking with you again next week about Wag the Dog. Thanks, everybody.
See ya.